Okay, so I just wanted to tell you the worst roommate story that you've been asking about. It was at the last place we were living. It was in Palms. They just had a shooting in Palms. Did you know that, Mika? Like
What?
3 people, like 2 days, yesterday or 2 days ago. 7-Eleven, and then like middle schools. Like three
Really?
people got shot, or 3 or 4.
Why?
Anyways, sorry about that. But yeah, that was right by where we lived. But the worst roommate ever. I told you guys I'd tell you this, and I wanted to make good on my word. Sorry, my nose is itchy today, like allergies. I've had a lot of hay fever. So we lived with a guy named Masa, and he was a really cool roommate. And I found him through the place we lived at before in Beverly Hills. I stayed in Beverly Hills for a couple months, and the owner of the house that we were staying in was gonna sell it, so we had to look for a new place. And him and I was like, hey, do you want to look together? Because then we can find a better apartment. And so we did, and we found that place in Palms, which was pretty convenient for both of us. It was right by the freeway, and it was close enough to Santa Monica, where he was going to school. But then he finished, or I guess he was kind of disillusioned with studying in the U.S., so he decided he was going home, and I think at that time I was just working and waiting for Mika to come back, or waiting for our green card stuff to process, and I didn't want to leave. So he found, no, you know what? Mika came back, and then it was, I guess, about 2 or 3 months after she came back that he moved. Sorry, it's all a little hazy. So he found a new roommate, and he found her on BBNavi, which is a Japanese website for people in the U.S. It's kind of like Craigslist, but a little less sketchy. But anyways, so as it goes, she came over. We'll call her Lady. We'll call her She Who Must Not Be Named. I like that. So she came over and I think met us like once, and she seemed normal. She was like a waitress or something, and she was living on a falsified whatchamacallit, social security card or something. It was like one of those schools where you pay them like $1,000 and they give you a green card to study for like a certain amount of time. But anyways, I know a lot of people who've done that. Mika likes to do everything legit so that we never have any trouble, so that's good. But this girl wasn't, and she was working, and I think from the moment that we first met her, she was a little off, but I thought, she'll probably be okay. She seemed normal when we first met, and we like signed the contract, and then she started moving in, and that's where things started going sour. First of all, we had like tandem parking, which is 2 spots, like one after the other, so you have to one of you have to move for the other one to get out if you're both parked there. With Masa, it was never a problem. Anytime he knocked on my door, whether it was like 3 a.m. or 3 p.m., whatever, I didn't mind getting up and just moving the car really quick. It took 5 minutes, so he did the same for me, and we never had any problems. But this girl, She Who Must Not Be Named, she would text me just like weird hours, like 8 a.m. or something, and then she'd expect me to just always get the text and just like meet her downstairs immediately. And I told her, like, if you need to go somewhere, let me know before you leave because I might not always get the text. I might not always see it. But luckily, I actually did almost always while she was there. It wasn't that long. I think it was 6 or 8 months that we lived together. But she would text me, like, please move your car. And then I'd be wearing, like, you know, my underwear and, like, a shirt. So I'd start putting on clothes real quick and put on my shoes. And she would text me again, like, please hurry, move your car. And so I would go down there and she would just be, like, sitting in her car, like, waiting. And it was just creepy. We had a dishwasher in that apartment, and we usually didn't use it before she moved there. But and we also had, like, next to the sink. If you've seen the old videos, you know what it looked like. Next to the sink, we had a dish dryer. Sorry. A dish rack, and we usually would dry our dishes on the rack. But when she moved in, she started using the rack, and I mean we didn't mind, but she never put her dishes away, so they were always just sitting in the rack. And if I really wanted to use it, I would just, like, kind of stack them on the counter, and then use the rack. But she started leaving more and more stuff in there, so it was always just like a mountain of dishes. So we started drying our stuff in the dishwasher, just because we needed a place to dry our stuff. And then she was like, why are you using the dishwasher? And I have to say, she never spoke to us directly. She would write us Post-it notes. She was very passive aggressive. And so we would write our Post-it notes back because we learned pretty quickly that she didn't actually want human interaction. She didn't like other people at all, it seemed like. She was very dark. You know that feeling when you walk into a room, or not when you walk into a room, but like, you know, like on a Disney movie, when the villain walks into the room and all the flowers die, and like the ice floods across the floor. It was like that, and like the candles go out. It was like that when she came into the room. And she wouldn't speak. She would, like, rarely say anything except for, like, hello. I would be like, hey, how you doing? And I tried for a long time to keep things cordial, but she just never talked to us. So it was really awkward. And then I remember, well, the biggest problem was when we wanted to move. We told her, like, we want to move at this time, and she was like, oh, okay, I want to move too. But she didn't want to. She didn't want to just end the contract because she was worried about not getting the full deposit back. So instead of letting us end the contract, she was like, I'm not going to do it. And she's like, I'm going to get a new roommate, and then you have to get a new roommate too. And I didn't want to fight with her just because I didn't want to be like an asshole because that was her job. So I was like, fine, you know what, we'll find a new roommate too. So that's why we had to spend, like, I don't know, 3-4 weeks looking for a new roommate. And it was really hard to try and sell an apartment because she finally got a new roommate to come in. So while we were showing the apartment, sometimes she would be there and she would just stand there with her, like, black, like, lifeless expression and just, like, stare at people as they looked at the apartment, and we'd be like, she's not your roommate. But it was hard to explain, like, the girl moving in is not, or the girl who's gonna be moving in will be your roommate, and this is not your roommate, and we're moving out and you're moving in. It was just a really weird situation. But eventually we found someone. We ended up losing at least a couple $100 because she didn't want to, like, move out like a normal human being. But we're just happy that it's over. Anyway, yeah, and then when we did move out, we told her, like, we're gonna take the fridge, and she was like, you can't take the fridge, and I'm like, yeah, because I bought the fridge when I moved in there, so we're gonna take the fridge. And she was like, well, the next people are gonna buy it. And I was like, If they want to, like, we can do that. But I'm not really gonna break the price down, because if we do that, we have to buy a new one, you know? I mean, it would have been nice, for the people moving in, perhaps. And so I was like, okay. At first I was like, okay, we can do that. And she was like, but you have to discount the price. And I was like, I can't do that. And she was like, no, the next people are gonna buy it. And so, because we had finally figured out who was gonna move in, so I spoke with them, and neither of them wanted to buy it. So it was just her trying to keep the fridge there so that she could keep her food there, because she was like moving out slowly. I forgot. It was really weird. But well, it was really complicated. But what happened was we actually moved out first, but we continued to try and sell to turn over the apartment to the next people for the next like 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. It was pretty horrible. And we were renting here, so we basically had to end up paying like 2 weeks here and there at the same time to get the place turned over, and we reduced the deposit because we weren't sure if we could get someone. It was really hard to get someone to move in under those circumstances, but we finally did. So on that day we were moving out, I called her. I was like, you need to move your stuff out of the fridge because we have the moving truck here. And like I told her like 100 times, like, we're taking the fridge and we're moving out on this Friday. And she's like, why are you taking the fridge? And she just like wouldn't let it go. She was such a dark and angry person. Like when you spoke with her, you could tell like she hated your soul. Like everyone who I'm introduced to her or who saw her or ran into her, they were like, wow, she's creepy. Even like the people who we were showing the apartment, we were like, no, don't worry, you don't have to live with her. And they were like, oh, thank God. But yeah, there was a ton of other just little details, like the living room. We had all this stuff in the living room, and she was like, why are you using the whole living room? Like, I'm paying half. Like, how come I can't use the living room? We were like, yeah. This was like right after she moved in. We're like, bring your stuff and we'll arrange it so that you can use like whatever space you need, and we'll share it, because that was the goal. We were like, you can use our fridge, you can use our microwave, which she did, and we didn't mind. But then she just wanted, I don't know, she wanted to come out on top. It was like she felt like the world owed her something, it seemed. And it was just hard to live with her. Anyway, that's about all I can remember for now, but I don't really want to dredge up the past any more than that, because it's something that we've honestly tried to block out of our memories, and I'm sure we won't be able to completely, so we'll always remember living with she who must not be named. And that's about the size of it. That's our worst roommate story. So hope you never have to live with someone like that. And be careful when you find roommates on Craigslist. That's it.